think we're good.
Okay.
Okay. Awesome. Sound good? Everyone's good?
Yeah. I was going to mention, I do have a dog and he doesn't usually bark, but every now and then, like once in a blue moon, he'll let out a bark.
Yeah. No worries.
So usually if I see like the UPS guy or something coming, it's like, so if that happens, I'll just try to press mute for a second. Just
no worries.
Pause. Okay.
I'm easy. This is really relaxed. So.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Well, I'm so happy to have Promise Tangeman here with us today on the Personal Branding Podcast. She is the CEO and creative director of Go Live, which is an amazing company that allows you to basically launch the website and business of your dreams. You work with people like Create and Cultivate, Girl Boss, Margot and Me, just to name a few. And actually my first meeting you, or not meeting, but I kind of first knew about you when I was looking for a website template. So this was actually years ago. And I was looking online and I think I found maybe one of your ads on Pinterest or something. And I was really looking for inspiration. And so I stumbled upon Go Live, looked through your templates, and they were just perfect. It was like, I didn't see anything else out there that had quite the style that I was looking for and really just made it really seamless and easy. And I think it was actually during a Black Friday sale. So I remember downloading the template. It was extremely easy to use, and it actually set my company up. And now I actually design Squarespace websites for people. But it's funny because Go Live was like my first stepping stone actually kind of into Squarespace and into web design. So it's really helped me probably more than you know. So thank you for being here.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for having me. And I loved hearing that backstory. That's really, really cool. So yeah.
So tell me a little bit, Promise, tell me about starting Go Live. I want to hear about what prompted you to start this company. Why templates? Maybe was it an experience that you had that you needed to create something like this?
Yeah, I actually, depends on how much you want to know, because this goes way back. I was in design school and it actually started back on MySpace. Do you remember MySpace?
I love MySpace so much.
So that's kind of where I got my start. I just was tinkering around with my own page, and it was in design school, learning about brand development, about design. And that was really my first experience in creating my own unique corner of the web that I felt like actually represented me. And it was weird to see, and it was cool to see me as a brand online represented. I was able to represent my personality and who I was online. And so a lot of my friends, I had the cool background and the photo that matched. I had music that, coordinated with the page and everything. And then a lot of my friends wanted help with theirs because they wanted, their corner of the web to represent them too. So that was really where I fell in love with branding and design and, marketing. And so from there, I dove into helping brands develop their own space that represented their business, where it would be, we helped entrepreneurs or even small businesses who had their own unique element and brand development online. And I really started just as a freelancer, blogging, using social media, and producing work that way. And as the demand grew, I felt like I needed to come up with resources to help more people than I could help doing custom design. At that point, that was back in 2009. So there wasn't a lot of female creative entrepreneurs that were in that brand and web design space. And so as female creative entrepreneurs were emerging, they found me and they thought that my design and style, a lot of my clients would say, you just get what I'm trying to do. You just understand where I'm going. And so, yeah, that was kind of an interesting transition where it was just needed in the industry, a female designer. And so, I started coming up with different resources and racking my brain for how I could help people. And so that's really where the templates came from. And at first, my business was called Promise Tangeman Creative. So that was my freelance business. And then it grew into a company called Site House, which was basically just templates that people could download and create on their own. And then I started hosting this workshop where people could come to my house or to the venue that we were having at, and my team and I would help them develop their template and launch in 2 days. And so I thought, I want to do this fast and I want to help people in this way. And so let's call it Go Live. And so it's called the Go Live Workshop. So I fell in love with that concept, and it was so fun to get to help people in person, and also get to see the reaction on their face when they actually launched their website. To them, it was not only launching a marketing tool, but it was launching their business in a lot of ways, because sometimes when your website launches, your business actually feels real, like it's your brick and mortar online. So long story short, that's where the name Go Live came from. And since then, we've just been very interested and kind of obsessed, I guess, for lack of a better word, in just the concept of launching now and refining as you go over time. I think a lot of people try to wait for the moons to align to either launch their business or launch their website. They want everything to be perfect. And, a lot of web design firms can even take months and months or even a year to launch your website. And as a creative entrepreneur myself, I knew I couldn't wait that long to launch my most important marketing tool. So yeah, we like to kick out resources and templates and all kinds of stuff to help people launch quickly. So that's where the backstory of the name Go Live.
It's so funny you bring up MySpace in the very beginning, because I think MySpace was really onto something in terms of, really having a space online that you could make your own, and that you can edit, and that you had really a lot of control over how the branding looked, how the design looked. And then you saw moving into a platform like Facebook, where it was just more rigid. You didn't have as much flexibility. And then there was this downtime of, I feel like, creativity for a lot of people, where we didn't have a space we were using for this as much. And then all of a sudden, it's websites started becoming easier to design yourself. It started becoming easier to, get on WordPress, use Squarespace, Wix, or whatever it may be. And I think that's part of the draw with Go Live too, is that you're right, that it shouldn't take too long or too much hard work for you to be able to go live with whatever you're doing, whatever your venture is, your business, your organization. And that's one of the things that really stood out to me with your company, is that it's just very seamless. It's easy to use. And I felt like you just have a great team behind you. What was the process like going from, a creative freelancing, female entrepreneur, to agency life? I think a lot of the audience members listening are in that freelancing phase where they're wondering, how do I scale my business? What is my next step? Do I need to hire a virtual assistant? Do I need to bring on, another contractor to help ease some of this workload? What was the process like for you?
I tried some different things. I first had to figure out, what was the goal of my business? Was it just to have an income? And was I okay with the fact of when I work, that's when I make money? Because that's the difference is, an entrepreneur, freelancer is, you get paid for the work that you do. Whereas building a company, it's different kind of work, but you're able to go on vacation, or I'm going to go on maternity leave in January, and my team can run the company for me.
You're not trading time for money,
Exactly. Totally. But it's different work. And that's what I really had to dig deep and figure out, because I'm a creative at heart. And so it is hard for me to put on more of that managerial hat and that more visionary hat. And really my time is spent more there than it is creating things. And so that was a really big trade-off for me. But I realized that I did want a company, and I wanted to build a business, not just be a freelancing artist, just because I saw the potential there, and something my husband and I decided. So I love what I do, but first I feel like it was that decision that I had to make. Where am I going with this? Am I fine being a freelancer, or do I want to build a company? After that, the whole decision in when to hire someone is risky. Because it's like, can I afford it? Is that going to stress me out? I was coaching a girl recently, and she felt like she was pretty much working just to keep her people, to give her people a job. And I was like, oh, like that, it should feel the opposite, you know? But I definitely felt her pain. My first hire was actually a trade. She needed, this gal that I hired, she needed a logo. She was a fashion stylist, and she needed a logo. And I was like, well, I need help, but I'm not really sure how I need help. So how about I build you, I'll create this logo and brand kit for you. And will you help me for a month? Just like figure out what I need. And so she answered all my emails and did more of my client relation work. So then I could just focus on what I could do best at that time, which was just design. Because that's what the clients were wanting. They wanted my design, my touch, because that's what I'd been putting out there. And someone else that was better with email communication and client relationships could help me with that. And so that's really where I fell in love with hiring a team. I was like, this works. I'm able to produce more creative work, and I can serve more clients. And I actually feel like I'm in a seat where I'm doing what I'm made to do. And she's doing what she's, made better suited to do, which was client relations and more administrative work. So
I think that's one of the nuances of entrepreneurship is real, and personal branding too, actually, is really getting self-aware enough to know where am I good at? What are the things I love to do? What am I really good at? And what are the things that I probably shouldn't be doing or should be outsourcing, And that, I think too, it's for so many people who are freelancing, who are thinking about kind of the next steps for their career, I think it is important to identify okay, am I a creative at heart? And can I put on that manager hat? Can I wear that hat and manage a team? Because it's so much different than being a creative.
Yeah, I think first of all, recognizing just what you said, what am I not good at? What am I good at? And I am not very good at responding quickly to emails. I am not very good at multitasking. There's a whole list of things I'm not very good at. And so when I found that I could hire people that were really good at those things, I felt like as a team, as a whole, as an entity, we were able to move places a lot faster. So
how do you think that you and your team have been able to really market Go Live? I know that social media is such a big part of all of this. I see you guys on Instagram. I see your ads all the time, actually. So it's working. I see you pop up on my stories and I'm like, oh, promise. And Pinterest and a few other areas too. How have you guys really leveraged social media to grow the company?
I think one of the first and most important pieces that I've seen for my company is just to have one piece that people remember about you. And to become really good at that one thing that I coach a lot of entrepreneurs into small businesses is, and they try to do everything under the sun because they think the more I offer, the more I'll be able to help more people. And the opposite is true, although it seems very counterintuitive. You want to really focus your niche so people have a reason to talk about you. And then once they hear about you, they'll remember you. And then when someone says, for us, oh, I need a website, we're one of the first companies to pop in their mind. We don't market business cards and signage or we do some things for our clients and stuff, but we market web design.
Yes.
And so I feel like first and foremost, having something that people will remember is key. And then second to that would be figuring out who your ideal client is and then where are they hanging out. I feel like we can feel pressured with so many different avenues of, where to go and what to do. And, I should be doing this. And I should be doing what that person's doing. And I have felt at times where I'm just so overwhelmed in my business because I feel like there's so many avenues that we're not touching yet. But I just have to always think back to who are we reaching? And it's that female entrepreneur who is just starting her business or has a side hustle. And she's not a web designer, not a designer, but she wants to figure out how to get her website live. And where is she hanging out? That's where I'm going. So, Instagram is a huge one for us. Create and cultivate girl boss conferences, stuff like that, where those people are going to be. That's where I've really just focused our time in and Pinterest has been a good one, but like Facebook, we don't really spend a ton of time there. LinkedIn, we don't really spend a ton of time there. So there's a lot of things that we don't do, but it helps us do the things that we do well.
Yeah, no, I think getting so specific and granular with who you're trying to serve is crucial. I think when you were saying like, yeah, I mean, if you try to spread yourself too thin and do all of these different things, it's like you're actually not helping as many people as you could be if you just focus on one specific area. And I think that's true for an audience too. It's like I see a lot of times when I'm working with clients, it's like they want to speak to the masses. They want to talk to all of these people and cater to all of these different types of personalities. And I'm always very clear about saying, be polarizing, be specific, be very clear about who you are and who you are trying to speak to and how you can help them.
Yeah.
So getting clear on that. And you're right, just getting down to the details, like where does this person actually hang out? Like going through their day, like what does this person do? What apps are they on? Where are they shopping? What are they eating? You know, and getting specific with that kind of that client profile avatar. So my other question for you, I think, would be how much of your own personal influence do you think that you've used to, you know, not only raise Go Live, but a few other companies as well? And, you know, how much of your own power base have you leveraged to build this company?
Yeah, it's hard to identify that or to figure out.
It's hard to
figure that
measure.
out. Yeah, and it's hard to see that in yourself. Like, oh yeah, I think that was from all my personal accounts. Or
Because I look at someone like you who is extremely charismatic and smart and sweet and just very bubbly and has a presence on social media. And I think, you know, how much of you do you think that people are buying into versus, you know, Go Live itself?
Right. Yeah. And this is something that one of my business coaches has been like trying to ingrain in my mind is you are your own brand ambassador. And yes, your company has its own brand that, you know, we try to produce helpful content. We try to reach our ideal client and that has its own, but I have to be my own brand advocate and do things that only I can do, which is, you know, speaking at events on behalf of my company or, you know, hopping on podcasts so people can understand the heart and the vision behind what we do, because people really are attracted to the people behind the company. And sometimes it's easier to latch on to that one person who would be the face of the company. But yeah, it's hard to say, like how much effort I put into. I've really realized a lot of my team members just keeping up with the consistency of our posts and stuff on Instagram, on our social media platforms has been a huge help. But this is something in my mind that I'm always just thinking about and thinking, how can I leverage my own personal brand for my business and my brand? And yeah, so I think that's a great question, something that I'm constantly thinking about. But originally, I think, you know, I really had to bring the credibility to the company.
Yeah.
And that's really where it started and how it grew. And so just growing small for me, I feel like was a piece in that. And you know, like what I mentioned earlier, just becoming really good at one thing and not trying to be everything to everybody, because I feel like I was easily able to build that credibility in a short time frame just because I was focused on that one thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think you're so right about the one thing. I think that's the hardest thing for people to grasp, but it's important, especially when you're just starting out too.
Yeah.
So apart from Go Live, tell us a little bit about you and kind of your family life and what you like to do besides work.
Yeah. Let's see. Well, I grew up as a homeschool kid.
Did you really?
Yes. And so I had a lot of time to create and play growing up. I loved starting different businesses. I was very entrepreneurial. I kind of knew like right out of high school that I didn't want to go to a traditional college and do like the whole college life. I didn't test very well on my SAT scores. And I was like, I just really want to do something creative. So that's when I went to design school, and I had my heart set on getting a job at Volcom. Do you remember?
Really? Oh my gosh, Volcom. I could actually see that. I can see the whole look right now. Right now, I can see it.
I'm like, oh, I just love, like, they were kind of like an edgy,
Totally
skateboard,
edgy.
snowboarding brand.
Yeah.
And they had a lot of like painting, and they had a lot of artists on their team and stuff. And I was like, oh, that's what I want to do. But then I ended up working at a church actually full-time as their lead designer. And I realized in that job, I did it only for a year, that I have like some aspirations to actually lead a company and be the business owner, in which that was a surprise for me. So it wasn't something that I like set on having my own business. But now looking back on like my childhood, just having so many little businesses growing up as a homeschool kid, I could see like, oh yeah, I had a lot of entrepreneurial aspirations and stuff, and just enjoyed that. I'm currently married to Brian.
I saw that. Yeah, I read that on your website. So is he was it a worship pastor?
Yeah, he's a worship pastor. He does music.
Love that.
And we've been married for, in May, we just passed 10 years. So
wow, congratulations.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to have a baby in January, our first baby.
Congratulations again. This is big.
Right, yeah, it's big. And it's going to be like really interesting, going on maternity leave and just just understanding that transition of what that's going to be like to be a mom and a business owner. And so we're kind of navigating all that water right now. We have a golden doodle dog. His name's Parker.
He's right there right now, right?
Yeah, well, he has a little bed here, but he left now.
He left. Okay.
This is usually where he sleeps. Yeah, how old is he now? He's like 8. So he's getting older. But yeah,
so I'm curious to hear kind of what your life at home is like with your husband. So, I mean, you're managing this business. Does he help you at all? Is he a part of the business at all? Or does he kind of have to do his own thing? And what is that like work-life balance for both of you guys like?
He very much does his own thing. Okay. However, he's very entrepreneurial himself. He's very creative and driven and loves brainstorming and ideas. And it's funny because when we're having, like, we just went on vacation. We went to Hawaii a couple of weeks ago, and we were having like a kind of a brainstorming day. And I'm very quick to like shut down reasons of like, no, why that's not going to work. And he always tells me, okay, look, when we're talking about an idea, when you're working with your team, like say wow before how. So when we're talking about an idea, like just wow at the idea from it. Just wow. Like
I love that.
Like that's a really interesting idea. Like don't jump to the how, because you end up shutting like ideas and just pathways down. So first so I love that. Wow instead of how. So I wow first. And when he comes up with an idea, I'm like, wow. Let me just let that sink in for a minute. But it really does help open up my mind to new ideas. So we love collaborating that way. He is technically the vice president of the company, like on paper. But he's not into like the day-to-day aspect of it. But
does he help with any of like the finances or the nitty-gritty work or?
Not really too much. He'll do like the tax meeting with me. Yeah, he'll like go to the tax meeting, but I do a lot of all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Just more of like brainstorming, vision, and he's really good at team building. And so he'll give me he's like more of a consulting role. And he really believes in me more than I believe in myself. And so he was really the driving force to actually growing the company and just seeing things that I couldn't in myself and in the team. And he's just a really big believer and supporter.
Yeah. Did you guys meet before you started Go Live?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. We met right as I was finishing design school. And so we kind of got to just like build this idea and all of this together, which has been really fun.
I think that's one of the things too, especially it's been so helpful for me starting my business even, is like just having a community of people, whether that's your spouse or significant other, or just friends who believe in you, your family who believe in you, and just making sure that you're tapping into those relationships and connections, because it is so lonely. Entrepreneurship is a lonely, lonely road. And I talk about this often. It's like, it's been, I've been surrounded by friends and family all year, but it's the loneliest I've ever felt, honestly.
Yeah.
And it's so important to make sure that we are, cherishing those relationships and keeping them close. And I love hearing stories about like you with your husband and having him help you and guiding you and, supporting you through all of this. I think it's so important.
Yeah. And I think it's, also important to be able to look at people who you feel like are doing it well and have, even if they're not in the same field as you or not doing the exact same thing as you, like that's something that I wanted for years. Like, I just wish there was someone doing exactly the same thing as me and I could just like look up to them and do what they're doing. But now I'm like, oh no, I like pioneering my own thing and kind of doing, what I feel like I'm made to do inside. But yeah, having those good examples of, what does it look like to see someone else running their business or pioneering something that doesn't look like everybody else's. And because it can be hard when everyone else has a 9-to-5 job and they're kind of looking at you like cross-eyed, like, what are you thinking? What are you doing here?
Totally.
But then to have someone that is doing it well and is modeling what that looks like.
What do you do when you were getting started? Did you tap into like mentors or like a business coach, or like what was that like for you? I mean, I know that's one of the things I really tried to do when I was first getting started is like look for people who are doing something similar and try to learn from them as much as you can. I mean, of course it'll be different, but at least, having someone help you and guide you through the process is so important.
Yeah. I feel like I had different people in my life semi-mentoring me in different areas. I don't know if it was like, it wasn't really called like an official mentorship, but it was more like, oh yeah, I go to them for this. I go to them for this. I had a few peers that, like helped me navigate those waters, and just doing it with them, I feel like was helpful. And then at the point in which my business was growing and I had, people on my team and I was looking at finance numbers that I had never looked at before and like figuring out like, what do I do? I just like had to raise my hand and say help. And that's where I kind of found this business mentor coach of mine, that he was kind of he's like 10 years older than me, sold or was a part of a design firm and, part of like starting it and all that. And, and he's really good at marketing and stuff. So I just tapped into my relationship with him and was like, help, I'm raising my hand. Like, I don't know what to do.
I think that's so important too, because I think also, a lot of entrepreneurs feel like they have to wear all of the hats, which is, a common like theme, but to like being able to know, again, it goes back to being like really self-aware and knowing your strengths, weaknesses, like when you need help to be able to say, I need help, and be able to ask for that and trust that, someone will help you if you ask,
Yes, totally. Yeah. Because I really didn't know like how to play these moves or what to do. And I didn't want to lose respect on my team. But I knew if I was just, honest and saying like, hey, I've never really navigated these waters before. And I think I just need help in making the right decisions and, having a support system to help figure this out.
Totally. So how big is your team now at Go Live?
Our team is, I want to say there's like 14 of us or 12 of us. Yeah. And we're all over the country, which is kind of crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
How is it? Yeah. How is that working remotely with everyone?
I love working remotely. I had a season in which I thought, I want everyone to be in the office. And so I had a small team working with me in the office. But then I realized, if I can find great people across the country, like that just fit well with the team, like why would I want to limit myself to just local area? And I love it. We stay in contact, via Skype and Zoom and text messages and email chains and all kinds of way of communication. And then everyone gets to work on their own time frame too. So
I am like such an advocate for all of this remote work. I think it's like cost efficient, it's time efficient. It's like letting people work and be flexible and like let work fit more seamlessly into their lifestyles. Yes. And you're right. Like when you're, thinking about adding someone to your team or, working with a virtual assistant, whatever the case may be, it's like, why limit yourself to the area that you live in? There is talent across the world. And it's like, gosh, for the first time, and not the first time, but it's like we have access to all of these people now, which is amazing.
Oh, totally. Yeah. And one thing I realized as a business owner is I really don't like managing people's time or being like a boss, like more of a managerial boss. I like having the vision and then letting people and hiring people on my team that kind of have a go-getter spirit to themselves and like pioneering different things. And I'd rather feel like I'm rubbing shoulders with my teammates rather than like, pointing my finger at them and having them be here at this time or do this at that time. So yeah.
So one of the, wrapping up here, I think one of the questions that I definitely have for you is, what do you think having a personal brand really means to you? And like, what do you think it means for your business as well?
Yeah. That's a great question. I feel like having a strong brand, I feel like is, when your client or your customer thinks about you, that they have something visual to land on in their mind. And it kind of goes back to, I don't want to like bang the drum, but I think it goes back to like that one thing that they think of. And that one thing can be, that one person you serve, that one service you have, and then all of the, design elements that support that create that consistency that people can trust. I feel like is really important. And it's that point and that fact that's going to differentiate you from the other person down the street. Because when your industry gets bigger and as your industry gets bigger and bigger, you need to differentiate yourself as much as possible so people remember you. So it's that like small, it's that small piece that makes you different and that people remember you for sure.
And when I'm speaking with clients, that's one of the things that we talk about in the personal branding process. It's like your personal brand is the one thing that does separate you. It's like the one thing in the entire world that no one else has but you. It's your unique personality. It's your unique traits and your expertise. And you're bringing all of that to the table in order to support the growth of your company. So,
yeah.
Well, so thank you, Promise, for coming on. Seriously.
Yeah.
So
thanks for having me.
I'm like, seriously, I'm such a fan. I'm such a fan of Go Live. I hope everyone goes and checks out the site. And is there any other way like people can connect with you? Instagram is a good place.
Instagram is probably the best place. Our handle is @GoLiveHQ. And then my personal one is @PromiseTangeman.
Okay. And definitely the blog has great resources as well. I was just looking through it and there's a bunch of stuff. There's even like a template I saw on your site that helps people craft a good brand bio too.
Yes. Yeah. I'm all about that one statement that helps you clarify that one thing that you do.
The one thing for the one thing.
The one thing. So we call it the brand bio. We coined it the brand bio. But yeah, you can use it on your website, on your social media profiles. And then if you're at a party and people ask, oh, what do? You can just rattle off that.
I love that. It's like the personal brand statement too. It's like along the same lines.
Totally.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Promise.
Yeah. Thanks so much.